I think it'll be very difficult for Bangladesh to make meaningful progress toward a peaceful political transition so long as the law and order situation, which includes attacks on and threats to religious minorities, particularly Hindus, are not fully addressed. What I think the top priority of the interim government should be restoring law and order. It's clear that there's significant amounts of instability right now, and it became quite clear that Sheikh Hasina was losing public support.
Bangladesh is marked by violence currently. So, what do you have to say on the situation and the political instability in the country?
Well, it certainly is a very troubling situation. And, whenever I'm asked what I think the top priority of the interim government should be, I say and continue to believe that it's restoring law and order. It's clear that there's significant amounts of instability right now, and I think it's still unclear what the scale of that violence is. But I think that it's going to be very difficult to make meaningful efforts to affect a peaceful political transition until the violence and the unrest subsides. And I think that there needs to be a lot more work, a lot more investigation as to exactly what is going on, particularly in terms of the scale. But I and so many others are, of course, very concerned about this current level of violence and unrest. I mean, there are indications, I think, that it has gone down in recent days, but with the police not having a major presence on the ground and with the army seemingly reluctant to play that role of trying to impose law and order, there's a vacuum, there's a security vacuum that I think that violent actors will and have taken advantage of. And this is certainly very concerning.
What could be the possible reason for the collapse of Sheikh Hasina's government? What are your views on that?
Well, I mean, it's very clear that you had a mass movement that got larger and angrier and, quite frankly, more violent. And what had been, quite frankly, originally a peaceful protest became something very different when Sheikh Hasina's security forces cracked down very hard on protesters. This is what led to the mass movement that came. And when it became quite clear that Sheikh Hasina was losing public support, she continued to have her security forces crack down, which only made people angrier. And then, clearly what happened is, in the day before she resigned, the army essentially declined to implement the lockdown order that she had given. And the army chief told her that, which I think was really a way of signifying that the army was withdrawing its support for Sheikh Hasina. And then after that, I think it simply became untenable from her perspective to stay in the country and continue to serve in that role, particularly with large numbers of protesters moving closer to her residence in Dhaka. And as I understand it, it was actually her son that told her that it was time to leave. Now, there's been confusion about whether she actually did mean to resign. I mean, she did resign. She left the country, but of course her son is saying that she may not have resigned. This is one of so many things that's unclear and uncertain about Bangladesh. But at the end of the day, what led to the collapse of her regime was a mass movement, one that the security forces were unable to manage. They were resorting to egregious levels of force, which only made that movement grow and get more public support. And in the end, she simply lost legitimacy, she lost support, and I think one could argue that she lost the mandate to rule as well.
Amid this ongoing violence that has killed hundreds in Bangladesh, there's also attack on minorities in the country, the Hindu minorities mainly. So, what are your comments? What are your views on that? Like the happenings over there?
I think that there are few stories playing out in Bangladesh that deserve more scrutiny and investigation than this issue of attacks and threats to religious minorities, particularly the Bangladesh Hindu community. And I say that because we know there have been documented cases of members of the Hindu community being attacked or threatened. I myself have spoken to friends and contacts in Bangladesh that have told me this. And yesterday, on Friday in Dhaka, there was a large protest in which you had people calling for more attention to and protection for the Hindu community. But there has been a lot of misinformation as well, and this has been documented. Credible fact checkers have indicated that many of these reports are actually not true. but clearly something is happening. And the problem with misinformation is that it can distract from the fact that there really are bad things happening. So even if there's fake news about what is happening to religious minorities in Bangladesh, we know there are confirmed incidents of attacks and threats, and it's important that misinformation not get in the way of that. But it's remarkable that with all the media looking into this story in Bangladesh, we still don't have a sense as to what really is going on with the scale of the problem and so forth. So I really hope that the Bangladesh media and other foreign media on the ground will continue to look into this. Hopefully, we'll have more information. But I underscore something that I said earlier, that I think it'll be very difficult for Bangladesh to make meaningful progress toward a peaceful political transition so long as the law and order situation, which includes attacks on and threats to religious minorities, particularly Hindus, are not fully addressed. I think that's a really important point that I would want to make.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.